Hi everyone, Melissa here. So excited to be back with you with another Christmas layout using the Merry and Bright collection. And I'm also featuring this cut file by Anetts Design, and you can find it through her Instagram page, Anetts Design, which will take you to this cut file. So what I'm planning on doing is backing this cut file with some of the A5 papers from the paper stack, and I've put the cut file on this wood grain just so that you can see it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use that as my background yet. But what I'm thinking for the berries, because there's holly berries in this wreath and there's a bow, is and to get the red colour or the deeper colour, I'm going to use these flowers to back the berries, because there's not an actual full-on red in this collection. There is a red in some of the embellishments, but it's not going to work I'm not going to waste them on backing this. And then I've also got a couple of options that I may use for backgrounds. I've got this Happy Holidays paper, and I've got this Star Bright, but I want to maybe use the star side. So I may even put the stars on the inside and then maybe use the wood grain. I'm not sure. I may even use white. But that's my intention. I don't have my photo yet. I will get that once I've backed the cut file. I'll have a good idea of which photo I want to use. So that is my plan, and I'm going to get started. Okay, so the first thing I needed to do was find some red for the berries. And I'm not sure if I mentioned in my intro, but there's not a huge amount of red in this collection. There is some like center type icons, but I didn't want to use the red hat. It wouldn't have been enough to fill all of this. So this paper with these beautiful flowers that are like a tone of red, they worked really, really well for these berries. And there were two types of flowers. There's the one that you see there, and there's also one with like longer thin petals. And because they are two different patterns of the same tone, they worked really well for backing the cut file with the berries. So I'm doing my normal technique of just gluing them down and then trimming them out. Now, I had a moment where I forgot that I was meant to be recording all of this. After I'd backed the cut file, I realised I wanted to put the star paper in the centre of the wreath, and then I glued it down. So I just glued it on the inner most line of the wreath. I did not glue the parts that hang over the wreath into the inside, and the reason for that is I'm going to pop them up with some extra dimension. So here, after it had dried, I trimmed it out, and it was at the point of trimming it out that I remembered that I needed to press record. Sometimes I do get carried away in my making, but you don't really miss much. It's just, like I said, gluing. So it's looking cute, and I had thought about using that peachy coloured background paper, which I love, but it didn't really work. So at this point, I'm still not sure. I wanted to tuck my photo in just to make sure it was going to work in that position, and then I decided I will use white cardstock and do some mixed media. So I've got my Lindy Stamp Gang Magical Powders. That is my favourite gold. It's called Golden Sleigh Bells, and it's beautiful. And you just mix it with water to whatever concentration you want, and then I just painted it on with a brush, and then you're going to see me dry it off with my heat gun in a sec. Oh, actually no, I had to mix up some more. So mixing up some more because I ran out, and just painting it on roughly. So I didn't want this to be too perfect. I didn't want it to be dominating either. I just needed some separation between the white wreath and the white paper, white cardstock. And I think because I've used that star in the middle, any other pattern would have been too much. So I'm going to add some splatters, and then I'm going to come back with another powder. It's not a magical, but it's a powder from Lindy's, and it's called Papa Pink. Excuse me. And it's really beautiful. So that's me drying off the gold splatters. Then you'll see me do the Papa Pink. It looks very intense on the little plastic. The pink does, but when it dries, it's not. So I'll just tell you a little bit about the photo. So I was the ballerina in our Christmas show at church, and my two little girls were ballerinas too, and I snapped this little photo of Ava and I, just a quick selfie, and I love how it turned out. And she's 4, she turned 4 in November, and she adored being in the Christmas show, and so did Brielle, of course. And so I was just really keen to get this photo scrapped, and she keeps asking for Christmas layouts about herself. And so it's a fine balance when you've got 3 girls. I've got a son as well, but he doesn't care so much. But the girls definitely want to make sure that they get turns at having layouts. So here it's all dried now, and I have to say I love using the heat gun to dry things off, because you get a little halo effect around your splatters. So here I'm just adding some craft foam. This one has an adhesive back, but it's not very adhesive. I don't know why, but it must be the batch. The whole packet of them, I think you must get about 50 sheets. They're all like this, so I'm having to add extra glue just to make sure they hold. So just wanting to lift this wreath up from the circle that I have painted. And then I'm just adding some double-sided tape. And I'm going to cut myself soon, because I don't want you to have to watch the next bit, which is me putting down all these little, maybe I do show all of this. So I put, these are Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, and I just put them on the smaller parts of the wreath on the outside. And yeah, the worst bit in all of this is removing all the backing. Not so bad with the dots or the dimensionals, but I find it annoying pulling off double-sided tape, but it's worth it. So adding some liquid adhesive as well to hold it down, and then positioning my wreath. It's not entirely in the centre, which ends up to be a bit of a blessing, and that's because I want to add a border later on, and I need to trim off some of the edge of that white cardstock. So I'm also adding some dimension behind these elements that I haven't glued in the centre of the wreath, and that is why I didn't glue them down. I also had to make sure I knew where my photo was going, so that I didn't add any dimension behind the elements that are behind the photo. But if you did, I mean, it would be fine, because I'm going to put some foam behind that photo as well. And I love the way that photo is just tucked into the wreath. So here, I definitely wanted to include this photo because this paper, because it is one of my favourites. I just love that tone of peachy pink. So I'm just using it to map my photo, and I never measure, I just use my scissors. And then I've got my little edge distresser as always, and just adding just some gentle distressing, I guess. Some of the layouts I've been making lately I've been heavily distressing, but with this one I just wanted to have a little bit. So I thought I should add some gold as well, and I forgot to say that this gold glitter paper is POW glitter paper from American Crafts, and I just have a lot of it in my stash, and I like to use it in bits and pieces. So I've backed the bow with it. I just wanted something festive and a bit more special for this layout, and then I wanted to balance that out excuse me, and draw attention to my photo by adding a matte of that as well. So now I'm just going through my bag of Merry and Bright. This is how I store my collections, all in a plastic bag. I'm one of those people that has to have them separate. I need them all together. So I'm just going through the die cut ephemera now, wanting to work out how I'm going to embellish. You could, if you wanted to do a really clean and simple layout, just leave that wreath unembellished, but of course I never want to go clean and simple. I need to add a bit more. So I'm loving that little house. I think it looks like a church, or one of them could look like a church, so I am keen to use one of them. And then I think I'm wanting to have 3 areas of embellishment. So I'm wanting a large one near the photo, and then I'm wanting 2 other areas just to draw your eye around the wreath. I'm loving that little December ticket. And this is one of my favourite parts of creating a layout, is just going through the bits and pieces and trying to work out what I want to go where. So I know I want florals, and I love that I can add florals that are not holly berries, just to provide a bit of difference. I love that Joy to the World, and of course I have to add one of these puffy stars, which I really want to hoard. So at this point I am adhering my photo, and I've got it slightly angled. I just think that looks cute. Trying to make the star and the Joy to the World banner work, but they're not working together. I tried a large floral cluster as well, but it was just too dominating in the centre of the wreath. Trying some other flowers, bending up the petals for dimension and interest, and definitely wanting to keep that tag tucked under that little branch. And then I'm loving that little red flower as well. So once I know that I'm happy with something, I will adhere it, and then I have to make everything else work around it. So I know other people make their layouts by getting everything down and then coming in and adhering. For me, it's very rare that I would do that. So the tag, the Very Merry tag, is not looking great. I wanted to make it work, but I just think it's too large. If I had a larger photo, maybe, I don't know, we'll save it for another project. So just adhering these flowers now, and I do like to have clusters of 3 elements. So at the moment the 2 isn't, I mean, it looks fine, but I'm just thinking it needs something else, but I haven't decided what yet. So I thought about adding this leaf, which would look fine there, but I didn't want to cut off from Ava's little dress too much. So adding that flower as well, and in some of them I'm putting a pop dot in the centre, and others I am gluing the centre and then lifting up the leaves and putting the pop dots underneath them. A little trick with that Nouveau glue is if you leave it lying on its side, the glue, if you're like halfway through it, then the glue is closer to the tip instead of having to shake it and bang it all the time if you put it on its base. So I did think about adding a flare badge, but I think it was too much as well, probably too much dimension for there, and I just decided to add the Joy to the World back there where I had it originally. So I'm really trying to get this flare badge on, but it's just not working for me. They're absolutely beautiful, but I'm having trouble with deciding where to put it. So we'll take it away and use it for something else. These hearts are beautiful too. I love that you can punch them out, but that wasn't working either. So I'm just going back through these die cuts to see if there's anything else that I can make work. And that's where I found this little gingerbread type house, which could kind of look like a church because we are at church for the Christmas show. Thought about this Christmas tree as well, but I love the house better, I think, because I didn't want to tuck the Christmas tree behind the photo. And then I went to my stash and got some older thickers. I wanted just simple gold. These are a little bit scripty, which I love. And until I decide where to put them, because I wasn't quite sure, I've added another element up the top under that ticket. I did think about putting my title here, but then it's kind of hanging there, or not even hanging off anything, it's just sort of randomly hanging there. So while I decide, I've pulled out this Nouveau glimmer paste, and oh my goodness, it is like the perfect finishing touch to any Christmas layout. You just dip your finger in and then put it onto the elements that you want to add some glimmer to. So I've added them to all the berries, or it to all the berries and all the flowers, and you'll see in the close-ups how it just really enhances this gorgeous collection. So I think, off camera I added another flower below. I'm sure I did. I added another flower below that the photo, and I added some Nouveau drops in. What have we got here? Crystal drops in metallic mustard gold. You could add sequins as well, just around or on the outsides of the clusters, and it just adds a perfect finishing touch to this layout. So just realizing there that I needed to add a little bit more dimension under that branch, and then this is where I've decided to put my title, and I just needed to add some liquid adhesive because these thickers are older and they definitely lose their stick. So that is my final layout. I also added the border off camera and really distressed the edges of the white cardstock, and I machine stitched just for some extra texture and dimension. So that's my layout. I hope you enjoyed my process, and I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and I will see you back here in the new year. Take care.